When we hear the word Renaissance, we usually think of it as a simple rebirth of old ideas. But honestly, that doesn't even begin to cover it. The Renaissance was a full-blown revolution. It completely tore up the medieval rulebook and, believe it or not, laid the foundation for the world we live in today. So we're going to uncover the 3 explosive ideas that really lit the fuse.
So the big question is, how does an entire continent just change its mind? Well, it wasn't one single event, not some big bang. It was more like a perfect storm of radical new ideas. And it really all boils down to 3 core ingredients that fueled this incredible cultural fire. And the answer really lies in 3 powerful, interconnected concepts. These ideas completely reshaped how people saw the world, their own place in it, and how they could even begin to represent it. We're talking about a new worldview, a new toolkit, and a brand new kind of creator.
All right, let's start with the most fundamental shift of all, a new worldview. See, before you can revolutionize art or science, you have to change the way people see themselves and their place in the universe. And for the Renaissance, that game-changing new lens was humanism.
Okay, what you're seeing here is a seismic shift in thinking. For centuries, life on Earth was seen as, just a dress rehearsal for the afterlife. It was a test you had to endure. But humanism came along and totally flipped the script. It didn't get rid of God, but it did ask, hey, what about us? What about our potential, our creativity, our lives right now on Earth? It was this revolutionary pivot from looking up at the heavens to looking right here at humanity. And this quote, wow, this just nails that new belief perfectly. This line from Pico della Mirandola is basically a declaration of independence for the human mind. The idea that we weren't just pawns subject to divine will, but that we could actually shape our own destinies, that our potential was limitless, that was an absolutely mind-blowing concept back then.
And if there's one single image that could be the poster child for humanism, this is it. Leonardo's Vitruvian Man isn't just a cool drawing, it's a manifesto. It's where art meets science, anatomy meets perfect geometry. It's this powerful statement that humanity, the human body, the human mind, is the measure of all things.
So, okay, you've got this new obsession with the real physical world. You have this humanist drive to observe and understand reality. But how do you actually paint it? Medieval art was, well, flat and symbolic. Renaissance artists needed a whole new set of tools to create a believable illusion of 3-dimensional space. And that game-changing tool was linear perspective.
Just look at this. The difference is literally night and day. On the left, you've got medieval art. It's beautiful in its own way, but it's flat. The most important person in the painting is just the biggest, no matter where they're supposed to be standing. But then you look to the right, at Renaissance art, and suddenly, bam! You're looking through a window into a real 3-dimensional world. That's the magic of linear perspective in action.
And the guy who literally wrote the manual for this new technology, that was Leon Battista Alberti. Now, the artist Brunelleschi might have been the one to first crack the code, but Alberti was the one who turned it into a science. In his book, De Pictoria, he laid out the mathematical rules, step by step, for creating a perfect illusion of depth. He made it something any artist could learn, practice, and master.
And here's how it works. It's just genius in its simplicity. First, you set a horizon line right at the viewer's eye level. Then, you pick one single vanishing point on that line. After that, all the lines that are parallel in real life, like the edges of a road or the tiles on a floor, they all race back and converge at that one single point. And just like that, you've created this powerful, mathematically perfect illusion of a 3D space. It's incredible.
Okay, so we've got a new worldview that celebrates human potential. And we've got a new scientific toolkit that requires incredible skill to master. So what happens when you put those 2 things together? Well, you get a new kind of creator. The Renaissance didn't just change art, it completely changed what it meant to be an artist. And the man who really cemented this new image of the artist was Giorgio Vasari. In his blockbuster book, Lives of the Artists, he did something totally radical. He took artists from being seen as humble craftsmen and elevated them to the status of cultural superstars. He basically invented the idea of the artist as a divinely inspired genius. Vasari basically laid out a new blueprint for what it meant to be great. It wasn't enough to just be a skilled craftsman anymore. A true genius had to master imitazione,
which is the careful study of nature and the masters that came before. But they also needed invenzione, that spark of originality, that imaginative leap that makes a work of art truly unforgettable.
And the result of all this was a total status upgrade for artists. I mean, they went from being seen as blue-collar workers to being revered cultural icons. Guys like Leonardo and Michelangelo, they weren't just painters and sculptors, they were rock stars. They were the original Renaissance men, admired by popes and princes, the most powerful people in Europe.
So when you put these three powerful ingredients together, humanism, perspective, and the idea of the genius artist, you get the incredible explosion of creativity that we call the Renaissance. But its influence definitely didn't stop there.
So why should we care about a bunch of old ideas from 500 years ago? Well, because they're not really old. They're basically the DNA of our modern world. Humanism gave us our core belief in individual potential and human dignity. Linear perspective, that's the direct ancestor of every 3D movie, photograph, and video game you've ever seen. And the idea of the genius artist, that's the blueprint for every visionary creator we celebrate today, from Steve Jobs to Beyoncé.
The Renaissance really gave us a new kind of hero, the lone genius. And for 500 years, that's been our model for creativity. But in today's world of AI copilots and massive global collaborations, you have to ask, is that model becoming obsolete? It really makes you wonder, who are going to be the geniuses of the next Renaissance?